Do you want to learn Photoshop? Welcome to my channel. I am Ricardo Costa and I will try to teach you the basic tools of Photoshop. Photoshop is one of that programs that when you open it for the first time, usually you say, "What is this?" There are tools everywhere, panels on top of panels and more menu options than some restaurants. And the question that always comes up is, where do I start? So what I think is the best way to start is to get to know the interface. So let's go. Once you have Photoshop open, you can just take Command plus N to make a new document, and then we can just change all of our document settings within here, and then we can just press OK to make a new document. Before doing something, let's quick view Photoshop Workspace area to get some context of what you are going to work. After you create a new document, you get this document window. So, up here is our application bar where contains the menus from the app and other application controls. At left side you have the Tools panel where it contains tools for creating and editing images, artworks, page elements and so on. And if you click on this little arrow, you have more related tools that are grouped. When you are selecting any tool, the options bar that appear on top will change accordingly to the tool you select. As we move around our document, we see there are rules at the top and side where you can click and drag to your document if you want to align objects. Under the options bar, you have the little tab for the picture you have open, and if you add more than one design, it will appear right after in the tabs. On the right side of the workspace, you have a little bar that can be expandable where you can see the history panel. That is a tool which creates a chronological top-down view of everything you do in your working session in Photoshop. You can also add other tools here by going to the menu bar and select Window. Here you have the Color panel, Libraries and Layers panel where you have all the layers of your work. So, now that you have a quick vision of Photoshop layout, let's dip a little bit more in detail to put you making a few things. After you've made a new document, you can double click on the background layer to make it into a new layer and unblock it to edit. There's some shortcuts which are really helpful when it comes to your Layers panel. Command plus G duplicates a layer, and then Command plus E automatically merges the layer with a layer beneath. Otherwise, if you select multiple layers and hit Command plus E, merge them all together. Command plus G makes a group, and then you can make multiple layers inside that group. And then you can also click Command plus E on a group and it will merge all of the layers in that group. Now, to import any photo into Photoshop, you can simply click and drag it into your design, and then you can just click and drag the corners of the image to scale it uniformly. You can also hold the option and resize it from the center, or you can hold Shift and all randomly scale it. You can also right click to rotate the picture, flip it and do all sorts of other things as you need. If you hold Command, you can then skew the picture and change perspective and the angle. If you hold Command plus Option, then it will change it on two axes. To confirm or delete the changes, you can simply hit Escape to get rid of the changes, or you can just hit Enter to confirm the changes that you've made. If you can't edit a layer, that's probably because it's not rasterized. If it has this little icon here, you can just simply right click on the layer, select Rasterize Layer, and then you can duplicate it, or you can merge it and do whatever you want. You can also hit Command U on the keyboard to go to the hue and saturation, and here you can change the color of the picture, the saturation and the lightness. You can also hit Command Y to invert a picture. If you want to add any sorts of effects, such as blurs and distorts and things like that, we can just go up to the filter menu on the top bar here, and then we have this drop-down menu with things like the blur, gallery, distort, pixelate, sharp and all sorts of effects. So if I just quickly add a motion blur to this and hit OK, you can see it adds a blur. You can also hit Command F to reapply the last effect that used within that gallery. So if I keep hitting Command F, you can see that it just adds more blur on top of the previous one. And also this also works for multiple effects. So if I go to distort and then add a sphere eyes and hit OK, then I can press Command F again and then I'll reapply that sphere eyes to whatever you use, lest it will reapply that. All the color correction and color changing options you will find in the Adjustments panel, so you can just go to the window and then Adjustments to bring up the panel, and then you see it here. And here's where you can change a brightness and contrast, your levels, your vibrance, color lookup, gradient map, and all these sorts of things. About this, a thing that a lot of people don't know about Photoshop is the difference between vibrance and saturation. Saturation increases the saturation of all the colors and image. Vibrance increases the saturation of all the colors besides skin tones. So, if you want to make an image look a lot more vibrant but not make people look orange, then turn up the vibrance instead of the saturation. And what about putting text in your image? If you want to add text or any sort of effects or type to your image, you can click T to go to the type tool, and then you can just simply start typing. I will just type my name here, and once selected that text, just by clicking and dragging you can change the color, and then if you hold Command and click and drag over the font size, it will dynamically changes the font size as well. Up in our top menu, whilst selected our text, we can change the font and all those other sorts of options, as far as spacing and alignment and everything, and simply just double clicking on T of that layer selects the text for you. You can also add layer styles to any layer in Photoshop by double clicking on the right hand side of the layer in the open space, and then you can add effects that only appear to that layer. So I could add a gradient overlay to my name here. I could select different gradients like that, press OK, and now only applies to that layer. Also a drop shadow and all sorts of other effects as well, and it will only be applied to that layer. I can also right click on that layer and copy the layer style, and then I could right click on another layer and paste that same layer style on top of another layer. And then you can just right click on any layer and then click on Clear Layer Style to remove all the layers file settings. Otherwise, you can click on the little drop down arrow and then just turn off the eye for effects, so you turn off the visualization of those effects. If you try to erase a text layer, it won't work because it's a text layer and you need to rasterize it. So the rasterizer, just right click on Rasterize Layer Style, and then you can just hit E on your keyboard, and then you can start erasing any layout once it's rasterized. And Photoshop also has a thing called layer masks, which is a just much better way to erase things. You can just click on the little icon on the bottom right hand corner here, which says Add Layer Mask. And how layer masks works? It works with your brush tool, so if you paint it in black it erases, and then you can press X to swap your color swatches to white, and then you can paint it in white. If you didn't know that X swaps the little color swatches down here, you can see them changing, so you're painting in black to erase and then paint in white to fill it back in. To save a document, you can just hit Command S, and then to save as, you can just hit Command Shift S to save as, and then you can save the file as a PSD, which retains all of the layer information and all the editing for Photoshop. Otherwise, you are going to save it as a flat photo like a PNG or a JPEG as well. And that's how to learn Photoshop in 10 minutes. Of course, there's a lot more to learn than what I just showed in this video. Photoshop has thousands of ways to do many things, but these are some great things for any beginner to know, and you can start creating and editing photos straight away. Please let me know in the comments below what you learned by watching this video. Make sure you click on the like button. If this is your first time on my channel, don't forget to click on the subscribe and notification buttons. And thanks for watching.